The fact that women and children remain the most vulnerable members of society because of actions taken against them by men is worrisome. We've seen how the Men Are Trash movement illustrated the destructive attitudes men have, and the rise of the Save Our Kids movement following revelations of prominent leaders and celebrities abusing children sexually makes me sick to my stomach. I've always admired the resilience of women who, according to recent reports, now head almost half of Namibia's households, a figure I'm sure will change when we take time to assess the ways in which lockdown has affected our lives. This episode is dedicated to the true heroines of this country, the ones who endure, who get up and continue to perform miracles every day. A recent article in The Confidente revealed that close to 800 children under the age of 16 have been raped in the last 18 months, with 164 being sexually assaulted by family members, of which 27 of those are biological fathers. Statistics provided by the Namibian police show that at least 1,604 rape cases were reported between January 2019 and June 2020. Of these, 773 involved minors, with at least 164 children having had their innocence violated by either their biological fathers, stepfathers, grandfathers, or brothers, and sometimes cousins. A worldwide movement to stop sexualizing and violating kids is trending following revelations of Jeffrey Epstein's pedophiles of the Caribbean, and I spoke to the activist Rosa Namises and asked her to share her views on how we will heal from this.
This issue is not, we must not even talk international. I think this issue came out very prominently in the 2010 Soccer World Cup. But I think our people and our leadership at that time were not even ready to accept or to face it. Trafficking and the whole question of sexualization of our children. It was very clear that it was happening. We had cases where our children were trafficked. It was clear that our children were engaged in premarital sexual activity. I remember the porn story. Pornography was out there. The children were exposed. I also think maybe it was also the time that the cell phones were becoming very prominent, and as a result, our children were already engaging, not knowing themselves, but being introduced by elders to the cell phone porn sites. Also, I think many cases happened at that time that children were used, and I remember the famous cases where people started to be appearing, but it was just the tip of the iceberg. I also exactly remember that there was the issues of child brides happening, where teenagers were married off, but nobody spoke about it. And it was not really coming out clearly. At that time, with these children and being sexualized, there is no physical abuse, but there is emotional and there is rape happening, and very much indoctrination in terms of exposure to the sexual act. So this has happened up till now. Now it has advanced in a much more acceptable way, that the little girls have become sex workers. They are exposed in the midnight, they are being picked up, and they are being abused in the informal settlements. The little girls have been introduced to not living without money. So their beautiful bodies that are coming to maturity are already damaged and cut short. Also, which is resulting not only on the street, but within the family home. This is happening with uncles, biological fathers, and then teachers out in the schools, it's happening, and then other rapists and other men out there. So this is happening. Oh, I must not forget the stepfathers, because they are the step boyfriends. They are supported by the mothers in most cases, where she never speaks out because she herself lives in these violent relationships. Since we started to talk around the question of violence against women and children, we have, and it's a known fact, that they target the weakest parts of the family. They also target, in their myth, they feel that that is the best entertainment for them, the young girls and the little girls. Remember when HIV came into our land, the myth was that the virgins are the ones to provide the healing. And then already there's other myths about okulalela, and there's other myths about marrying the little girls. And also they are not only weak, but also they are in need of beautiful things that they are introduced to, and they are also coming from poverty-stricken communities, the San community, where the little girls are being sexually abused without any means, because they have no protection. There is no social protection, there is no human right protection. Nobody really support them. There is no voices that are speaking out for them. And as a result, all over, not only the little girls, but their mothers have been abused, and their fathers have been abused in cheap labor, payment with alcohol. So that social system of living a dignified life with the family, but more so with the little girls, is no longer. So why the men are doing that is men are not brave enough. They target the weakest because they are not able to face their peers. They are very scared, very coward. And in their respect for their sexual organ, that can only kill as the weapon the weakest person. And that's what they do.
Children are being trafficked for sex and other inhumane acts. I asked activist Rosa Namises what each and every one of us can do to get involved and to help.
What we as a society can do is actually long overdue. Our society also has a big decline of moral values. Big decline. And in that declining, what I have seen is we have turned to become very individualistic, but also very justifying the wrong all the time and living with it. Also what we have done is we have become beneficiaries of some of this. Like in the case of a little girl, or in the case of a mother with her boyfriend, she benefits on maybe sex, that's her benefit, or maybe if it is drugs that he brings, then drugs, or if it is a little bit of one day money, that is one day, she benefits. So as a beneficiary of all this in society, we can't speak. And another silent why we can't speak is we protect the family names. So we benefit by having a good family name. And that mostly happens also with all our leaders who benefit by protecting their names. Even if the father leader or traditional whatever politician is a rapist or is a pedophile, we need to protect his and the other family members' names. And we have different things. We have seen it with COVID, how discrepancy is even happening with COVID now, where when it is the leadership's family members infected by the COVID, it's a name. Whereas my cousin who just died of COVID, he has been a number. My heart pains like burning. So in this way, how do we address? I think what we need to do is, it's an individual starting point. to inform ourselves. Erica, we need to step away from the ignorant behavior that we have engulfed ourselves into, because that will enable us to break the fear. So if we inform ourselves, and if we have knowledge, and if we are starting to see what is happening to our society, like our society in the shambles of the informal settlements is going down. We will not have a generation of clear-minded, focused, creative citizens in the future. Therefore, as the individuals, we need to break our ignorant, supportive behavior.